Hello, folks, and welcome back to another Velo podcast. My name is Mike Levy, and today we have a whole bunch of stuff to cover, including Josh Ross's review of Litespeed's Dell's Reis, which I think is the lightest titanium disc road frame in the world. We've also got to talk about plagiarism in a previous employee's mess up. That's going to be serious for a few minutes because we can't exactly carry on like nothing has happened. Finally, we're going to get into some winter clothing testing because the weather is absolutely shit and we're not made entirely of sugar. I made partly of sugar for sure, but not entirely of sugar. And if we get to it, we're going to talk about our goals, some ride goals, some training goals for 2026 as well. Today, I've got tech editors Josh Ross with me, who you've all heard before. I've also got managing editor Will Tracy here. And for the first time on the Velo podcast, I've also got Velo contributor Lisa Charlebois. Did I pronounce that right, Lisa?
Close enough.
Yes. Perfect.
Winning.
Yes. So, Lisa, this is your first time on the Velo podcast. So let's do a bit of an intro. Where in the world are you and what kind of riding are you doing lately?
Yeah, I'm sitting here in San Francisco, originally from Canada. So we had to get a second Canadian on the pod, so it was important. And I'm primarily road, so I do a lot of ultra distance cycling. So that's kind of my training focus. And just cruising around San Francisco as much as I can. All
right. What bike are you riding the most right now?
Currently, I am on a GT2AR. So it's Mosaic's titanium frame. And I really like that bike. I also have an Allied Echo, and then I have a Mariposa Randoner setup steel bike.
Oh, perfect. So since you're riding that Mosaic a bunch right now, you're going to have a ton of questions for Josh and his Litespeed. So we're going to get to that. Mm-hmm. Why don't we do it right now? Josh, always a man of the people. You're back reviewing these affordable road bikes.
I like to call them budget conscious, really, is the way I like to phrase that.
Right.
It's all about value.
Yes. We'll get to that. This one is different from the Carbon Aero stuff that we usually see you on. The Dell's Reis. First of all, if I was going to name a bike, I want to give it a name that's easy to pronounce. You know, like it'll be more memorable, I guess.
So we looked this up multiple times. It's maybe Koi, Dells like bells, Reis, I think. Anyway, we don't know. None of us know.
We need the Catalan speakers to show up.
Yeah, we need a Catalan speaker to give us the right way.
Yeah. So this thing, it's a $16,500 metal bike that's made in America, titanium frame. It can weigh as little as 948 grams, which is not many grams, regardless of the material used, but it is especially light for a metal frame. So tell me a bit about this thing. Give me some specs and tell me why it costs $16,000, Josh.
I mean, it's essentially built to order Halo bike. I mean, it's not, some people have commented on the YouTube video like, oh, they're probably not going to sell a lot of these. Yeah, they're not going to sell a lot of these. Like, this is no secret here. This is a demonstration of what Litespeed can do with their capabilities, because the whole thing is when you have, when you are creating a bike this light, then the Carbon brands have said the same thing. You can make a bike uber light. But a bike that's really light that you want to ride is a whole different thing. So, a metal bike costs weighs a little bit more than what is possible in Carbon, but the same concept applies. Litespeed is showing how can they get, how low can they go and still make it a bike you want to ride. And this is what they've done.
So with this thing, you can get custom geo. You had production geo. You can get a UDH derailleur hanger mount. It has internal routing, a threaded bottom bracket. But all of that only applies. You're only allowed to ride this thing if you weigh 187 pounds or less. Isn't that a relatively low weight limit, Josh?
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. It's not a thing I run into. I'm just kidding. I'm being more of the people. I just
yeah.
Yes, it is a low weight limit. Again, though, this is they're saying this is what we can do in this specific situation.
Okay.
They have other bikes that cost less. They have other bikes that more people can ride. But yeah, 187 pounds on this one.
Okay.
So $16,000 to be gaslit by your own bike. Cool.
It's like Garmin, where they go unproductive.
Yeah.
Yes. Exactly. So everybody that's listening or watching this, you can go to the Velo website or to Velo's YouTube channel to watch the great video that Josh has posted there. But I want to quote something out of your written review on the Velo website. I love that you started your review with this. It says, Josh wrote, "Owning the Litespeed Coll del Reis isn't smart." Quote. What do you mean by that? Before we get into how this thing rides, what do you mean by that?
So I think, it's nice to have someone on the show that has a little bit of my background in a different way, not about bikes. But I think, Lisa, you might understand this. It's an art thing. It's like certain times in art, you do things not because they make any sense, but because you're like, prove it. It's like following a path to the end, right? So they didn't make a metal bike this light because it makes any sense to do that. They did it because they can, and they can demonstrate that they can do it. And like, if you want to do a spreadsheet on this and go, well, I want the lightest bike, I reviewed the Scott Addict, I reviewed the Athos 2, the XDS RT9. Those are all lighter bikes that cost less. Pretty significantly less, even, despite the fact that they're crazy expensive at the high end. They're still a lot less than this bike. So it's not smart. You do it because you want to be riding the best of the best in this one particular way.
Okay. Can you tell me how this thing rides? Can you compare it to maybe the Scott or something, or like a carbon bike that more people have spent time on? Just give me a brief breakdown.
So I actually say this in the review, is that I feel like it's like the Athos, what the Athos wants to be when it grows up. It's the Athos. It's just a little bit more. Now, again, I want to go back to that point about it not being smart. This is not. Don't expect that even if you ride them back to back, that one is going to, like, the Litespeed is going to be drastically better or different, or it is minutely better than an Athos. But that's the idea. It's all about ride feel in this. And I like that it's still a pretty performance-focused geometry.
Can you maybe break it down a little bit more? Like, when I think of a titanium bike, I haven't spent much time on anything titanium. But like the cliche takeaway is like, it's comfy, it's springy. Like, do those things apply to this bike?
They do, but I kind of, in a way, I hate those cliches because,
Right.
yeah, it's just because there is an inherent springiness to titanium. However, you could get that in carbon. Carbon, the whole advantage to carbon is that it allows designers to do what they want. The thing is, often designers don't choose to replicate a metal bike. That's why I talk about the Athos, because the Athos really does try to replicate a metal bike. And so yes, there's this springiness there. But it's still a performance bike. It's stiff. It feels like, don't expect like a drastically crazy magic carpet ride. But the whole like, why do you want, like, what does it mean? Like, what's the advantage? Is that it's just ever so slightly the edge is knocked off. But also there's, like, what I like in a bike is really, the more I review things, is you want flex. That's what you want. You just want good flex. You want a spring, and that's what this bike has.
How are they doing that with the frame?
So what Lightspeed has done is that they have really worked to use shape to affect how this bike bends and twists and springs. And almost none of the tubes are actually round. And the example that I like to use is the top tube. And the top tube in the center, it's pretty close to round, but as you get out to the edges, it's fairly faceted. And the whole thing is that they're creating bend. They're allowing it to bend towards that center. And then they're allowing it to twist towards the ends. But the thing about that is that the ends are attached to other tubes. So that already resists twisting to a certain effect. And it's all about just being very intentional about the way the bike bends and how it reacts to the rider.
Sounds expensive.
Yeah. I mean, that's what it comes down to. It's very exacting process. It's not easy for them to manage that kind of thing.
Okay. Will, have you spent any time on a titanium bike?
Actually, I have. I of all things, I own a Litespeed titanium gravel bike, which I enjoy quite a lot. And also I do remember actually discussing that with Brad when I at Litespeed when I was getting that bike and testing it about just the different tube shapings that they do and that intentionality they have behind. It's not just a bunch of buying off the shelf tube shapes and throwing them together and off you go. But I just wanted to make the case in a very narrow case for why this bike is smart. And that is, if you are spending $16,000 on a bike, if you're spending $16,000 on a carbon bike, that bike will be outdated within 3 years, 5 years tops. And I feel like this bike is just top of the line titanium. I don't anticipate too much more like advance coming with titanium design. And I think this thing will just kind of stand the test of time. So if you are that kind of buyer, you might not be interested in that at all. You just want the latest and greatest thing, in which case you're probably just getting the carbon thing anyway. But I think there's a case to be made that this one will stand the test of time.
I want to put an asterisk, or maybe a question, I should say, to that. For that to be true, it needs to have things like the right tire clearance and the right geometry. How much tire clearance does it have, Josh? What can you fit on there?
This will fit a 35, and
yeah,
I don't know if that's the right. It's a little easier on a road bike because, tire widths are getting wider even on road bikes, but it's all right.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing that maybe no one's covering here is that when you buy a metal bike and you travel, like the peace of mind that comes with that is totally worth it, in my opinion. Like, I bought my titanium bike so I could travel with it, period, full stop. That is what that bike does. I don't have anxiety about it. If something does go haywire, I can get it fixed. Like, it's not end of days. Whereas a carbon bike, like, God, my freaking heart stops every time I put it on a plane.
I was going to say, Lisa, you've got a Mosaic, which is a budget titanium bike.
Yes.
Well, compared to the Litespeed, it is a lot less expensive. So I guess I want to know, like, are you happy with the Mosaic? Would you dream of spending even more money on this Litespeed? Does that appeal to you? I don't know. It's
I struggle with this because, like, I feel like I love things made in America. I think that's fantastic. Like, I love the fact that that's what Mosaic and Litespeed offer. But once we start getting to this tip of the spear moment, you really got to question why, right? Like, is $16,000 on this bike? I don't know. Can I instead split the difference and maybe get a better wheel set on my Mosaic? Like, I don't know, man. It's starting to, I don't know that I would make that investment, but also maybe I'm not as fancy pants a rider as maybe Josh is.
Man of the people, Josh is.
This goes back to it not being smart. That's exactly what I'm saying. You can't, if you're looking at this bike, you're not thinking, well, I'm getting a great value. Like, yes, it's expensive, but there's a lot of, like, whatever. None of that is true. None of that is true. And I would even push back against, I don't know how forever bike it is. People tell me all the time, oh, I want a forever bike. I want a titanium. And then 2 years later, they're like, oh, I really want this other forever bike. I don't know, maybe. Oh, and we all jumped in after the traveling thing because I have seen, first of all, I've had carbon cracked and fixed within 24 hours in LA. Broken through the chainstay. And I don't know how fixable metal bikes really are, not to increase your anxiety at all. I can imagine this Litespeed would not be a fast, it would not be a 24-hour turnaround fix. But So I kind of just go back to all those things where like, yeah, there's all these ways you can rationalize it, but really it's just about like putting a point on the best of the best in a specific way. And that doesn't even mean it's the best of the best overall. It's just like, I have a metal bike that's a performance bike that is the lightest you can buy. Full stop. Like that's why you get this.
You've ridden some fancy things over the years, especially over the last year. The new Colnago, the new Cervelos, the Scots, like all the fancy things. If you did not have a bike right now, and you didn't have a wife and family either, let's say that,
or I was somehow independently wealthy, whatever.
Yes, exactly. And you could just go out and spend the money that you wanted to spend on the bike that you wanted. Are you going to get this Litespeed before you get the Y1? Are you going to get it before you get an S5? Like what and why? Or why not?
Oh, so I've been thinking about this a lot. People have been asking me a little bit, and I did. So this is kind of a weird like thing about this. So I ride with it. There's a couple of people that I ride with the most. James, who's in this Litespeed video, he has a Moots, and I ride with him quite a bit. I also ride with my buddy Christian, who has English Cycles, a steel bike, and both of them. Here's the thing about our ride dynamics: they're both taller. And they're thin, but taller, so they are able to generate more power. They're bigger, and they are. I always feel like they're faster than me, except that in certain situations they're not, and I've never really understood it. And I did some testing recently, and at least compared to Christian, I'm something like 30% more efficient. And I did all this in like deep dive into what that all means, and basically I can never beat him up a hill. He just generates, I can't be light enough, and he generates too much power. And so then but I can be more aerodynamic, and I am more aerodynamic, partly just because I'm smaller, I'm shorter, and like I just take up more. So I'm like, maybe I just need I need that factor 1 in my life or something.
Yes.
Oh,
Josh, you know what you sound like? You sound like a little 4-cylinder engine that is extremely efficient, where the other guys are V8s chugging along, burning more fuel. They're in a heavier car, where you're in like a lightweight car, just getting the most out of what you have. Do you think that's a fair way to describe it?
It is. So the question, but then I started to be like, okay, I can beat them on the flats because I'm super aero, and I have access to crazy aero bikes. But then I'm like, well, what is my goal here? We're not actually racing. We're supposed to be hanging out. So in that case,
I do want
the Litespeed.
Okay, so that's what I was getting to. I do want to point out that you actually didn't answer the question. So what bike are you going to buy?
No, I was so. Yeah, probably the Litespeed, honestly.
Really?
But I probably throw some aero wheels on it, I think is the answer.
Okay, now I want to know, if you're not in your 40s, what bike are you going to buy? Because I have a very strong opinion. I feel like once you enter your 40s, you are in your titanium era. That is like, welcome. I'm glad you're here. Here's your bike.
What does it say that I bought my titanium bike at 23, 4?
Ahead of your time, bro.
An old soul.
I once got asked that question by somebody higher up here in the outside organization, who was like, I've reached that time in my life. I want to know about titanium bikes. Can you give me some advice? And I was like,
They're curious.
Dude. I like to push hard all the time, and I wouldn't, if this was a more like endurance focused titanium bike, I wouldn't probably make this choice. The thing I like about this bike is that it's still performance based. It's still a fast bike. It just maybe is not the most aero, and I like the idea, like light bikes feel really good, and so that's great. And then you go, I like the idea of having this talking. I am in danger of outing myself as the ridiculous person I am, but here we go.
Yeah. So, safe space.
You show up to a group ride, and you're like, people are like, oh, what about that? But what are you riding? And I'm like, oh yeah, this is the lightest titanium disc brake bike you can buy. Like, I like that. That's kind of cool.
Yeah. We're all tech dorks at heart, aren't we?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a neat thing. This thing, guys. let's move on because we have to talk about something a lot more serious than titanium road frames. So we have to talk about a Velo fuck up that happened about a month or so ago. So if you spent time on the Velo website or listened to a podcast previously, you probably already know about Alvin. He was a tech editor for the, I think, previous couple years at least. But unbeknownst to the rest of us, he had been plagiarizing some words from other cycling writers, most notably James Wang's review of the State Bicycle Company Titanium All Road that James had on his N+1 Substack. You should go check that Substack out because he does great things. Will, I set it up real nice for you. Take it away.
Yeah, totally. I mean, the core tenet of what we do is original work, and when you violate that, it's violates that trust with all the readers. So it's a super unfortunate situation. I want to say, first of all, apologize to James on behalf of the company and Velo and myself that it's just it's tough. I hate that this happened, and I respect your work and really upset that this happened on our site. But
I think we could have not easily, but we could have not talked about this. But I think it is super important to not gloss over what happened. Like, obviously, a lot of people know about it. And, for myself, I've known James for, probably over 15 years. I've been all over the world at press camps with him and stuff. And James does amazing things. And, like, I know that I didn't plagiarize anything, but just, like, even being tangentially involved sort of, like, makes me deeply ashamed, to be honest with you guys. And again, like, I can't apologize to James enough. It's unreal and not good.
So the one thing that I want to add to this is that while it is unfortunate, we appreciated Alvin while he was here. We didn't know what was happening, and we had to make a change when this came out, and we have made a change. And I am here, and Will is here, and Mike is here, and we are doing good work. And we appreciate that everyone has cared about this and that it's important to them. We have seen the comments. We understand that, we understand that people care, and we appreciate that. I appreciate that. I'm here doing good work, and, the Litespeed review.
I don't know if I'd go that far, Josh.
I try to do the best work that I can at every situation. And there will be times that I overlap with James. James has also reviewed the Litespeed. Our work is different. We have different perspectives, and that's just what it is. We're glad to move forward. And thank you all for, sticking with us and understanding that we had to make a change, but we're continuing on.
Yeah. And one last shout out. You should go check out James's stuff on the N+1 Substack. And let's move forward. Josh, Lisa, you have both been testing a bunch of different jackets over the last few weeks of cold, wet weather, which is exactly how I described the last month here in BC, many places of the Northern Hemisphere. It has been absolutely biblical rain here. So, Lisa, let's start with you. Mm-hmm. How are you testing these jackets?
So, maybe it was slightly ambitious, but instead of doing a festive 500 kilometers, I did a festive 500 miles. So I ended up taking a lot of these jackets. Yeah. So 500 miles in like California storms, I can guarantee you I tested the bejesus out of these jackets. So rain, hail, you name it. And so plenty of centuries. I wore a different one every time.
Okay. Josh, you been getting out in this shit weather?
I have. There are some overlap to what Lisa and I are doing in terms of the jackets, and it's always a joy to work with Lisa on this. But what I really appreciate is that she's really out there testing, and there just are not very many people, man or woman, or there's just not a lot of people that really do that. And so I have seen her put these things through the ringer, and
I feel attacked. I feel attacked, Josh. Well, let's get right into it. Let's get right into this. Lisa, if it is absolutely pouring rain outside,
Yes.
what is the jacket that you would recommend?
Dude, that Gore-Tex Lupra 2.0 was thebomb.com. I kept going back to that jacket over and over. There was a couple really, really bad days. There was one morning where at 3 a.m. there was like a weather alert that like busted through on our phone, and we're like, should we cancel the ride? And we're like, well, let's see what happens. And yeah, no, that jacket was clutch. The only criticism I have is that the hood doesn't tuck away. So when you're not in need of the hood over your helmet, it's like this giant parachute that's like choking you as the wind is like ripping. Again, maybe aggressive conditions that day, so that might not be the use case for everybody, but something to be mindful of.
Yeah. I have the Lupra pants. Holy crap. I've never had like a real waterproof performance orientated pant before. Mostly because this one's that wet. I'm just going to stay inside, to be honest with you. But I've worn these pants a whole bunch, and I was blown away by how dry they kept me. Josh, what about yourself? What would you recommend for the worst of the worst?
Yeah, so the bottom line here is it's Gore-Tex. You need a hard shell. And so I have a slightly different version of that jacket, which doesn't have a hood. I don't really like hoods on my, like, I'm a little more like aero performance and hoods. I don't use hoods really. I will sometimes put a hat underneath, but okay, a lot of words to say. You need a hard shell. And there's all these fancy soft shells that are like, oh, we have this new fancy technology, and it's like blah, 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 blah. And you're like, yeah, have you actually been in the rain for 3 hours in your jacket? Because I don't care what fancy technology you have. Unless this thing is a hard shell, it's not keeping you dry.
Yeah, exactly. What about for a soft shell jacket? Did you guys test like some puffies and stuff like that too?
Yeah, I mean, I was blown away with the 7 mesh mission jacket. It was the only jacket I put on, and it honestly felt like someone tailored it to my body. Like, it was just incredible. And then all these little details that you don't notice until you wear it. Like, it had these nice little cuffs that were kind of cut on this interesting bias so that your wrist was always covered, and had a little stuff sack. And it's just like one of those jackets where it might not be the warmest, like it's kind of more of a emergency shell, but it's like top of the line, really great. And it does perform reasonably well in the rain.
Yeah. Josh, do you have a soft shell you recommend?
So wait, I want to jump into that 7 mesh also, because I have talked, I forget his name, but they're out of British Columbia, and the owner, or the founder of 7 Mesh, he is a like British Columbia rescue person, and like this man knows his stuff, and they have a whole crazy system where so you can take that 7 mesh, which is like an emergency shell, but then you can layer it over their mid-layer stuff, and then you get a crazy warm base layer. You can do like amazing. It is amazing what you can do with their layering system, and it's all about breathability. He's really strong about like you will soak yourself from the inside out if it's not super breathable, and yeah. But then to answer your question, let's see, which one? Wait, come back to me? No, I'm just kidding. It's Asos. I am a man of the people, so I do have like an $800 Asos jacket.
Jesus, come on.
It's the one that I actually that $800 jacket is exceptionally good, and it will be in the buyer's guide as a
better be.
If you want to. It's amazing. But so Lisa has tested the Deodora.
It was the one under it, like the $400, the very affordable $400 jacket.
But whatever that women's jacket is called, we're riding the same jacket. I have the men's version, and then that's like if I am okay with a soft shell, that's the jacket I'm reaching for. That's the Equip R Habu. Equip R Habu.
Yeah,
maybe?
I know. We're gonna have to do French lessons next time we do this.
Josh, can you tell me a bit about that Asos? Was it Asos the system it goes with a whole pair of pants and like it's a whole thing, isn't it?
Oh yeah. So their jackets don't so much play into that, but I did have that those pants in the buyer's guide. It's like $800 by the time you have it all. I forget exactly, but the whole thing about it is, so they have these bib tights that they have kind of like 2 layers slightly. So it's a little more of a rain shell on the outside. Now it's not a full rain shell, but it does pretty well as far as soft shell technology does. And then when you get down to the ankle, it turns to neoprene. And so like nothing comes through that. And then if it's raining, they have this 3/4 length pant that you then put on top, which only works with those bib tights because it matches to the neoprene at the bottom and keeps you dry throughout.
Josh, what would happen if
pretty
you
crazy.
didn't have the appropriate matching jacket for that?
He couldn't show up to the
Would it
group
side
ride
on
on
the
Little
shirt?
Speed.
What would go wrong?
I would melt. Clearly, I would melt. I mean, I've tested that. It's important to remember that, like, when I talk about these expensive things and how to get through crazy things, and Lisa's the same, we're talking about riding for, I don't know, it takes me like 7 hours in the winter. So 7 hours in Portland weather, it's like, let's say 38 degrees and constant rain. Like, you better be on your game. You better have the good stuff. But most people aren't doing that. And there's much more affordable ways to do it if you're not trying to do that.
Let's get into exactly that. Let's just pretend I don't have $800 to spend or whatever on a
Don't worry,
jacket.
we don't have
Let's
to
just pretend. Yeah, exactly. It's real life. What would you guys, let's start with you, Lisa. What would you recommend to somebody who needs some dry, warm clothing this time of the year, but doesn't want to spend ridiculous amounts of money?
I know. It's a real challenge, I think, when it comes to these winter jackets, because a lot of them are on the higher end of things. Like the POC jacket was incredible. The challenge is it's $250. However, I think that's a nice like shoulder season jacket. So I tried to think about the value conversation more as like, okay, what else can I get out of this jacket, right? Is it something that can start for spring, and then if we get in some layers, maybe it can work better in the winter? The most affordable jacket was the Sweet Protection Hunter, which, to be totally fair, is more of a winter shell. It's also, a wind shell. It's also unisex sizing, which for anyone in the female side of the equation, I'm not a huge fan of. It's just usually like kind of doesn't fit well. This one wasn't bad, but it was still a little bit baggy. I do like the feature that I coined as the croissant pocket. It's like got these giant pockets in the front that can hold a full croissant. So that was goated, as the kids say.
All right.
I have sort of a similar like way of like, this is what it's like. I really like to walk people through the idea of, if you're not when I talk about it's the Joda, it's the Equip RS Joda Ultras is the $800 or something jacket, right? The reason that those jackets are expensive, or any of the other ones on the list really, are because they're trying to do a lot of things. And if you instead invest in a good shell, and that's what you want, a good shell. And then maybe when you're starting out doing cold winter rides, you put on and I have done this, you put on your vest, you put on your short sleeve jersey, you put on your arm warmers, you put on, right? And then you put your shell on top, right? And then maybe next year you go, you know what, now I'm going to add a long sleeve jersey. And maybe the next year you go, you know what, I'm really going to step up to a mid layer. And you just start building these systems as you expand out. And so the jacket that I have found over the years that I like to recommend as your sort of building block thing is the Pearl Izumi Attack WXB. And it's not, strictly speaking, like as good in the rain as Gore-Tex, but it's pretty good. The whole thing about it is the outside has it will absorb a little bit of water, which will then stop sweat evaporating through the jacket, which will then soak you a little bit from the inside. But it does pretty good. It's a good price, and that's where I like to recommend people start if you're looking for budget.
I I started with all of Josh's hand-me-downs, to be honest. Thanks, Josh. Josh gave me a lot of winter clothes. I have an Endura puffy that you gave me, Josh, which is absolutely amazing, and a couple different rain options and that sort of stuff. And it has literally transformed my winter riding from, like, you know, Josh, just like you described, I had a bunch of different crap, like a bunch of different arm warmers, some like cheap long sleeve jerseys, and like I would just stack all this shit on me when I wanted to go out. But like once it got down to, I mean, I'm talking Celsius, like a few degrees above freezing, I was kind of out. I'm good, But now that I've got these winter clothes from you, thanks, Josh, I can actually, like, after this podcast, I'm going to go out. It's a bit warmer today, but after this podcast, I'm going to go out and I'm going to be super comfortable. It's crazy the difference that it can make. Like some real, like, purpose-built clothing.
Yeah. I mean, +1 to the puffy. Don't overlook the puffy. The specialized puffy was fantastic. And whether, you have to also think about your winter riding in the context of how are you riding, right? Is this a chill coffee ride? You're going to dress a lot more, like that puffy might be great, other than, you're going out for Josh's, like, Hammerfest with his buddies. Like, that's a different outfit, So being mindful of the conditions, but also the effort is really important.
And that Endura that he's talking about, Lisa, it's a lot like the Café du Cyclist.
Oh, God. Oh.
It's so that one is Primaloft installation. And the Endura, I know off the top of my head, I think, unless I'm wrong. Let me know in the comments. But those are both Primaloft jackets. So they're actually very similar, although the cut's different. But you loved that one. I knew you would.
I was, like, obsessed with this Café du Cyclist. It's called the Lise, Lise. And, like, not only is it, really amazing, sort of that Primaloft on the front, and then it doesn't have insulation in the back, but then it's super smart, and it has, like, 6 pockets. Like, it's not great. If you're a hoarder, like, if you are the person that literally takes everything, don't buy this jacket. You're going to be like an RV behind you. But it's like 3 sets behind you, close to your back, and then another mesh sort of pocket with dividers. So, and then a stash pocket. The whole thing is great. The thing I didn't like about it, though, is that it has like a fold-in hood that goes into the collar, and it just gets a little too puffy around your neck. And so when you turn, you can kind of feel it. It's slightly irritating.
I will say, just to add on to that, Lisa, that you mentioned all these pockets, and that has been, when I'm looking at winter clothing, they need to have all the pockets, because a lot of times I'm adjusting my layers. Like sometimes I'm bringing 2 different pairs of gloves with me.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll have a winter cap on to, like, get to the bottom of the climb, and then the cap comes off. So I think much more than in the summer or spring riding, those pockets come in really handy. I have a question for you guys. What is non-jacket, non-pant? What is the one piece of winter clothing, or winter clothing accessory, I should say, that you guys value the most?
Oh, it's not in the article.
Not a jacket and a thing?
Nope.
Not a jacket, not bib tights.
To give you an example, mine would be, I have 2, what are they called? Little, like, balaclavas. Buffs. Neck buffs, yeah. I have a Gore-Tex one, a Gore one that's, like, thicker, windproof, and then I have a lighter 7 mesh one. And I wear those things, like, probably 9 months out of the year. It's my favorite thing ever. I love it.
I am obsessed, and I tell everyone to buy this, and it's the Albion Burner. So if you don't know what it looks like, it's a little piece of down. And this is like old school, like take a newspaper and stick it under your jersey. They took that and they made it out of down. It is the smartest thing I've ever had. Once you put that on, it keeps you so nice and warm. And then it goes into its own little stuff sack. And it's the size of, like, I don't know, 2 AirPods stuck on top of each other. It's super tiny. Oh. It's really handy. It's totally worth having, and you'll use it all year long.
So do you just, like, stuff it down your front of your jacket or your jersey?
Yeah.
Or does does it go around your neck, or how does it work? It
kind of has, like, it's like a slight scoop around the top of it. So think of, like, back in the day, think of Julien Alaphilippe on the tour grabbing a piece of cardboard. It's except it's made out of down. And you can just lay it on under your bib straps, so it'll stay put, and just on top of your base layer, and then under your jacket. It's great.
Cool. Will, do you have a favorite piece?
Yeah, definitely. It would have to be toe warmers for me because I feel like it's such a easy, smart thing. I mean, all my shoes are. I'm not gonna go buy like a winter pair of shoes, especially I don't live somewhere quite cold enough for that. But just to cover all the ventilation on your toes so that they don't get frozen is wonderful. I do own booties, but I found myself just reaching for the toe covers more. And if it's the booties weather, if it's booties weather, I'm not going.
Must be nice. Josh, what about you?
Okay, so first of all, I just went and grabbed. This is the Q3651, which is basically what Lisa's talking about. Goes like this, and it sits there.
Oh.
I don't use it, but I appreciate the concept. So the thing that I use all the time is heated socks. I have a pair of Aurora Sequoia heated socks, which are a little bit older now. You probably want to look for whatever their latest thing is. And it is a game changer. Because, cyclist, I don't have great circulation in my toes and fingers. And,
I have many questions because I've almost bought a pair a few times. I'm definitely going to buy a pair this spring. Do you have the kind that pull up like very tall, close to your knee? And can you feel any of like the heat circuits? How long does the battery last? Tell me more about these things because I need them.
So this is great. So I pulled up an old review that I did of these, although actually it looks like I can't look at the details. You can definitely feel so the main thing that it does, it has a patch that's under your forefoot. And that's really what stays warm. It pulls up close to your knee. It's like a soccer height, sock height. And the battery pack sits on the outside of your calf, close to your knee. And you can definitely see it. People ask me about it when I'm riding with it. And then you can feel the wire going down. And I mean, it disappears once you start riding, but you can definitely feel it being there.
How long does it last?
A long time.
Phone? Do you control it with your phone app?
Not this. This one's probably too old for that. There might be a newer one that has that. I'm sure there's something on Amazon. There's a million ones. When I wrote this, when I share reviews, heated socks are an interesting thing because there's like a million on Amazon all the time. They're always changing names. But if I'm going to do a review of something, I want to be able to say this is a company that stands behind their product and is like, you can go to Aurora and they make socks and you know what I mean? That kind of thing. And so, I don't know what's out there in terms of all the fanciness, but these are just like, there's a battery pack that charges and then there's like a button on it that can change the heat amount. I honestly mostly leave it on the highest and I have 2 sets of the batteries. So if I'm doing 100 miles, I can actually change it out.
Wow.
Okay, interesting. You said the battery pack is on the back of the sock. Is it difficult to pull your bibs up over it or anything like that? Are they difficult to live with in any way?
No, so they're high enough that you can they're high enough that like you just sort of get the elasticy part of the bottom of the bib tight. It just goes over it and then it's up like almost at your knee, so it just there's enough stretch in bib tights. It doesn't really matter. And are they difficult to live with? Not really. But mostly what I do is just turn them on high and leave them alone. You could, in theory, reach down and push the button to like change the temperature, but I don't. I would rather just change the battery if I absolutely had to because I don't really know. I don't want to be in a situation where I like turn it off because I can't see what's happening or just leave it alone. And for people that I'm sure are curious, I have absolutely drenched these on rides just where you can wring them out. It might as well have been underwater and they work just fine. They won't like really hold heat in that situation. Like they're better than nothing, but they just don't really work. But it won't hurt the socks. Also, the cheap way to do it is to use chemical warmers. But I find, and maybe I'm curious what you guys think, but there's not enough airflow in cycling shoes. So you need air with chemical warmers.
Yeah, I use chemical warmers a fair bit, and what I find is they create a hot spot, but nothing around it gets warm. Like the heat doesn't ever spread out. I don't know if I'm not using big enough ones, and also they take up a fair bit of room. Like it's
Yeah.
not like I can put a chemical warmer like on top of my foot in my shoe and then comfortably tighten the shoe down because it's just like a big lump underneath there, and it makes a hot spot more than anything. But I will say I do use chemical warmers like on the tops of my thighs sometimes.
Mm.
You could just
Oh, that's
slide
a-
them in underneath
that's a
the
hack.
shorts.
Mhm.
Yeah, and they're invisible. They work awesome there.
They don't slide down like when you're
Nope.
riding? Really?
Nope.
Hmm.
Nope. Or tops of gloves sometimes too.
Mm.
Yeah.
That one's obvious, but yeah, and that's obviously like the cheap gas station way to do things, which is I am all for. Will, do you ever have to use chemical warmers in San Francisco? You probably don't go out when that
never.
happens.
I own them for skiing, but I've never used them for a bike related trip. But now that you mention it, like it could be good. I used to ride in the winter in Sacramento and like go out. There it gets reasonably cold in the winter. Like it can get down near freezing in the morning. So I do have experience in really cold weather and actually need to go out and train. And nowadays I'm like, I'm just not gonna do that if I don't have to. Yeah.
I got frostbite in my toes riding in an Olympic Peninsula, but that's not so far from you, Mike. And then I had to solve problems after that. I was like, no more.
Yeah, exactly. And once that happens, once you've been like, I'm not talking cold, I'm talking like dangerous cold. Once you've been dangerous cold, I feel like after that, even years after that, you're more sensitive to the coldness, and you take it a lot more seriously than if you were never dangerous cold before.
Okay, wait, hold on. Before we move on, because I know we're about to move on, but I want to just ask you guys, because you guys probably know this. You know that feeling after you can't move your fingers anymore. You can't feel them. You've gotten to that point, or your toes, whatever, but you've gotten to that point, and then you warm up again. And there's like, it's technically nerve damage is what it is, but there's like this feeling in your fingertips that just like, it's a weird,
Pain.
like, it's like it's like phantom pain, right? And I almost kind of like it because I'm like, man, I did something. I did something radical here.
Josh, you're writing some very weird marketing copy, like that nerve damage feeling.
Chase the feeling.
Yeah.
That's it's like when you get home from a cold ride and you put your hands under hot water, that kind of pain.
Yeah.
Where you
But
get in the
it-
shower and it hurts.
Yeah.
Like it
Yeah.
hurts
But
because
then it holds for like
yeah.
a while.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Try to avoid that.
Yeah. This is not smart advice, but
Yeah.
Guys, I wanted to talk about 2026. I wanted to briefly touch on some of our own personal ride plans. Lisa, are you the kind of person who thinks new year, new you? Do you
Well-
have resolutions? Do you do that kind of thing?
No, but I have to have an event on the calendar. If I don't have
Yep.
something to focus my mind and my training, I'm just kind of like, oh, let's go for a coffee ride again. Like I don't focus. I don't do anything. So this year, I'm really excited. We're going to do the Le Jog. So it's Land's End to John O'Groats. So that's the entire length of the United Kingdom. It's a 1,400 kilometer brevet with a 4.85, which is randomness, but 4.85 day time limit.
Sounds wet.
Yeah, maybe. Well, it's in August, so hopefully it
Oh.
might just be hot, actually. So
How do you set a time goal for that? Or is your goal just to finish, or do you have like a personal goal of wanting to finish at a certain time or hold a certain pace?
yeah, no, I like to. I mean, there's no first, second, third place. Like it's not a race. It's just complete it. So when I do my ultra distance events, I like to maximize my sleep. So taking the full time is the move. I mean, if I can sleep for 5 or 6 hours a night, that's great. And then that means my days of like 240 miles, like it's not I could see Josh's face. He's like, "Ugh," but it just makes it not as brutal as it sounds.
Yeah, exactly. And I guess with that sort of distance, the goal is to just keep moving and be consistent. It's not about
Yeah, you keep moving, but also like you're on an adventure. Like the coolest part about doing this long distance stuff is, dude, the only thing you think about is eat, sleep, ride. Like you've literally like you've matrixed out of your real life. You don't even look at your text messages or your email, and you're just in like ride world, and it's pretty dope. I like that's. Josh chases the feeling of getting in the shower and having that pain. I chase the feeling of this like matrix out of real world into bike world.
Lisa, that's the dream.
It's pretty
the
dope.
Dream. That's what I live for. Like it's when nothing else exists except getting to the gas station.
Yes.
You know, that is the best. We'll get to that. Will, what about yourself? 2026 ride plans, ride goals?
I'm keeping it pretty simple this year. It's just more consistency. Just the last year was probably some of the least amount of riding in my life, and that was just due to multiple periods where I had an injury or had surgery and just couldn't be on the bike, and then also just being caught up in a lot of work stuff or work travel and just like losing time for the bike, which I know I work in a bike media company, and having less time for the bike is ironic, but just carving out that time, make sure I am going out 3 times a week or so and just getting the miles in.
Yeah, I think that is a worthy goal. Everything comes from that. You know, when you commit to riding more and just like making it happen more, then you do more, and it just kind of snowballs from there.
Yeah, and then just everything in life feels better, works better, like happier. Everything is better when you just actually get the miles in.
Yeah, exactly. That my goal is similar. My goal is always to be stronger than the year before. All I want to do is, no matter what, I want to be a little bit stronger, which is difficult as you get older. I'm in my 40s, and like, thankfully, I started from a fairly low level, so I could still improve every year. I did a fair bit of Ks last year. My goal is to do even more this year and just stay healthy and motivated. I think a lot of times it's easy to lose motivation, like when the weather is shitty and blah, blah, blah. So just do that, do some big multi-day tours, and get back on the mountain bike again. It's been a while. So I want to mix it up with some training on the mountain bike as well, too. Josh, you're up.
Yeah, so basically, here's my thing always. How far can I go without stopping before I drop? And I've had
Are we the same person? This is great.
I've had some discussions with Lisa. I remember talking to you about lights and things, because you had an exposure light that I wanted to bounce stuff off of you. And you were like, hey, well, you should also bring this back up and you should do this. And I was like, no, that's not how I do this. This is like, I commit, and either it works spectacularly or it explodes spectacularly.
Amazing.
Like, I don't know what will happen. So last year, my goal was 500K in one thing. And that's, no sleeping. It's basically 24 hours and is like of just riding. It's a little bit less, but you slow down also as the miles go on. And I did not get it done last year, partly because Mike is made of sugar, but this is not his fault. Mike bailed. But there's a thing about that, is that my wife does not like me to ride through the night by myself. So I have to have the right situation. Mike was just one piece of that. But the reason that I bring this all up, because once again, my goal is 500K in one shot. However, I'm always super curious about the randoneering community, and it occurred to me before we were going to do this podcast, that's a way to ride with people, to like have an event. But the problem that I always run into whenever I look deeper into it is there's so many rules. There's all these rules and things. Like, just leave me alone.
Yeah. No, they thrive on rules, and then like, it's. I don't know. I don't know if it's a French thing. I don't know why, but yes, it's overly complicated. But once you kind of unlock it, it's actually pretty simple.
Josh, I would love to have you come up here to do some multi-day tours on the gravel bike with me.
Sure.
I have some absolutely amazing routes. That's not 500 kilometers in a day. It's more like 200, but you'll wish it was 100 by the time we're done.
Yeah, that's 200K. That's about 120 miles, right? Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah,
A lot of
something like
climbing.
that.
They're
climbing.
difficult miles. It's the actual mileage number doesn't really translate the difficulty sometimes. Ugh.
That's true. No, I understand that. Also, there is one more thing though. We talked about this a little bit before the show, but I do not like to carry anything, and I don't like to.
Yeah.
I'm not camping. I'm not bike packing. This is not happening. I'm staying in a hotel. I'm checking in with only what I can carry in my jersey pockets, and yeah.
Yeah. So what I do is I'll make hotel reservations that are a bit too far apart.
That's
You know?
Perfect.
Yeah. So that when I roll up to the hotel, I want the person at the front desk to be a little bit worried about my health when I roll in.
Yeah. No, totally.
That is ideal. Guys, anyways, this was a great podcast. For everybody that's listening, tell us what your goals are, your big goals and ride plans for 2026. Put them down in the comments below, whether that's on the Velo website or if you're listening or watching this on YouTube. Make sure to comment below and tell us what your big plans are. Lisa, thank you for joining us for this episode. We will definitely have you back. Will, thanks for being here, boss.
Of course, anytime. Have me more, please.
All right, everybody. Make sure to share and like the podcast, and we will see everybody next week. Take care.